conduct the meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, let's start out with our, prayer.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you, Lord, for all the things you've done for us, Lord, up to this point, Lord. Pray that you'll watch over us, take care of us, Lord, and bless us to meet, Lord, and help us, Lord, to make decisions according to your will, your way, Lord. I pray that you'll guide us and direct us, give us strength, spiritual knowledge, and wisdom, Lord. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. We say the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. We need to approve the minutes from June the 4th and June the 17th.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Have a second. All in favor? Do you have a motion to approve the agenda?
Make a motion. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Chris, we do have somebody from the, all right, we're gonna, discuss the Hardeman County 911 bill. I know everybody's had questions, so, Chief Wilkerson got somebody to come so they can speak to us about it.
Good afternoon. I don't know what exact questions, I'll try to answer as best I can. I'm Michael Jones, I'm on the 911 board. I'm also Chief of Police at Dalton Police Department. The way we set up the formula, the only thing that the city's paid is the payroll for 911. You're not paying for the equipment, you're not paying for the dispatch, you're not paying for the building, you only pay for the retirement, their insurance of the employees, and their salaries. And it says compensation, that's like a raise, whatever they get to work, overtime, anything like that. So, any questions?
How's the rate based?
The rate is based on your population. In other words, say like, this bill is 487, we take the whole population of the county, and we divide that into that, so that gives what it be per person, and that is based on the census. So after you get that, we will, whatever it is per person that lives there, then if you have like 300 people population in Hornsby, it'll be 300 times, and I'm just saying $46.
How much?
I'm just using $46 as an example. So you take the total budget for the payroll, and divide the county's population into that gives you what each person represents, dollar amount.
So as long as the municipality's paying this bill, what part does the county pay? Because I know the county has to pay something.
Well, that's what I'm saying, get your percentage, so after you take out the 300 people that lives in Hornsby, and I'm just using the population, you take out 25,000 people that live in the county, okay? Then from that, you take each population from each city, and what's left, the county pays their percentage by the population. Perfect example, Whiteville. At one time, they were only gonna pay, I think, a very low $16,000. They went back and argued about the census to get their population up, that jumped their bill to like 71,000. So it's done by whatever, when you do your federal census, that tells us how many people live in your city.
So why was census included the prisons in?
Once they had theirs, first they didn't, then they fighted to include the prisons, and then their bill went up, so they made a deal with the prison to pay part of the bill. Now, I don't know what that, what their deal was, but they paid, I think, $16,000 less than volunteers.
Chief, I know we briefly met at the lunch one time, quite some time
Yeah,
ago.
but, I don't know, say judge here, but she's my city judge, so it's judge here.
So, I represent Hornsby, and I've actually done a lot of work on this the last few weeks.
Okay.
So I have a few questions as well, because it's probably ultimately going to do a frequent information request. I've spoken with the lawyer for Whiteville, who's Judge Pride, and what he told me was that essentially they got hit with the big bill, and so look, usually 911 is responding to emergencies at the prisons. So my understanding was is that CCA, whoever that corporation was, actually cut a check to help defray the costs to the actual taxpayers of Whiteville. I've been in communication with Mayor Pultz on multiple occasions the last few weeks in regards to what their bill is. My understanding is that Bolivar is on board with paying, and evidently that there was some sort of process, an explanation as to what the actual formula or whatever it is called that is going to be assessed to each individual, whether they live in the county or they live in the city. It's my understanding Bolivar is on board with paying what they've been quoted, but I've also talked with the lawyers for Grand Junction and some other municipalities, and they share similar concerns to the aldermen and women at Hornsby, is that there's not really an explanation as to how the process, because evidently there's been a pretty big spike in what the bill has been assessed. So what I was going to kind of lead a charge to try to get.
What you mean in their bill that's being assessed?
Well, how much was it last month and or had last year? How much is it this year?
It's about $500 to $600 more this year
Okay.
than it was last year.
So their concerns are, there's not really much of an explanation, or there's not really like a clear
But
indication.
the explanation of why it went up was because the employees got a raise. So that raise is shared between all the entities involved.
Okay, well, I'll tell you, is there anything that I can do as far as minutes goes that would explain what the raises were for, what, where this money is actually going?
Does the state, I thought, when I had a commissioner who used to work for the 911 board, the state had some kind of issues with so much of the funding for 911. And
The state does. The funding we get from the state can only be used for infrastructure. Infrastructure would be
Right.
building.
Okay, I think that,
The infrastructure would be like, since we're not doing the payroll total anymore, that's like, they need a new repeater down around Ray Jackson,
Yeah.
20,000, we're gonna pay the 20, the county's gonna keep the maintenance up. The law, and I didn't bring it with me, says we cannot use any of that money for payroll for dispatchers.
See, another one of my concerns in kind of investigating this was, it seems like, for example, Fayette County is very open with how much money they're getting from cell phone bills, and I'm not sure that the same is true here. So that was another thing that I was going to request. I was going to talk with Ms. Carey today and yesterday, who I guess runs it, but I think she's really been sick, so I wasn't able to talk with her about it.
father passed.
She's been sick, plus she's had a death in the family.
I can't hear
Her
her.
father passed, so I can't even state it.
So is that information that I can potentially get from her as to how much money Hardeman County is getting from people paying just their regular 911 or paying the regular cell phone bill, and part of that, it's my understanding $1 or $2 comes out for the
It's not
specific
a dollar,
reason.
it goes back to the population. The state puts it all in a pot and they divvy it out by population.
Yeah, I mean, my understanding is that it's just like anything else with the budget, where the funding's all coming in from the different areas. My concern is when you come and tell a city that you're giving for raises or whatever else, okay, so, all right, you got a great boss, they want to raise you again in 6 months. The municipalities are going to continue to keep paying the price to raise everybody's salary, and we only get so much tax dollars and stuff down here. I mean, I think that's what the general concern of the public is down here. But I mean, I just know that there's a lot of stipulations with the 911 funds from the different areas they come in. Because like I said, I had a county, one of my election commissioners served for years on that 911 board. And yes, I realize there's a lot of stipulation where it can go and what it can do, but how much is the total bill that we're being charged?
$4,692.34.
And see, my concern is, as a taxpayer, for a little bitty town, it's probably less than 300 people, that $4,000
That's
is
a
a lot.
third of what we took in property taxes.
Yeah,
It's a
so-
third of our tax dollars.
Yeah, so I mean, that's just my concern, and I mean, I know it's probably being a lot of things thrown at you,
That's
but
a third of what you took in property taxes. Is that your only revenue?
Well, no, we have
One business.
One business, so our tax base is nothing. We don't even have a single full-time employee, and we have no benefits for any employee, and our employees go years without a dime of pay increase. And it's really offensive to me that we're paying for pay increases and retirement and insurance for someone else when we can't even do for our own people.
You know,
And I mean, if the county's paying and then you're coming around and asking the city, I'm paying tax dollars in two places to have paid for salaries for someone else. And I find that pretty offensive.
I guess my concern is I just wish I knew what the formula was, what the
Exactly.
set amount is, you know, I mean, instead of it, is it gonna continue to jump as much, because like I said, we
We
cannot.
can't do
It
it.
just, it's, like I said, it depends on the raise in the population. And then, like I said, the raise depends on what we're paying out for salaries. And then your population, if you go, the next census, what, every 5 years?
Every 10 years.
Okay, so
Census every 10 years.
so we go.
So we
based
won't
off
do
of
another,
census.
we won't do another census
Yeah,
until 2030.
so if that time your population lowers, then your price should go down. That's the only way I can explain it, because you can't do it by cost of service, because you still have the same amount of people living there.
How many people does 911 service have? How many's on that are employed?
It's supposed to be 16, I think we have 12 right now. Now, the only thing your salary you pay for is the dispatchers, you don't pay for the 911 director, it's paid for by 911 and her assistant, which she doesn't have one at this time.
But why are taxpayers in Hornsby County getting paid, paying 911 through their county taxes? And then if I live 2 miles up the road, I wouldn't have to think about any of my city tax dollars going to pay 911.
What you mean, is it 2 miles up the road?
Well, if I'm outside of the city limits, interest in the county. So you're saying the county pays part of the 911 bill?
They get you up just like you do. We're not
That's my
part, we're
point.
not part of the county.
I understand that,
Okay.
but my point is, as a county taxpayer, part of my tax dollars through the county tax dollars I pay goes to pay salaries, et cetera, for 911. Because I happen to live in city limits, and part of my city taxes go to help pay for the 911 compensation. But if I lived just in the county, I would only have county tax dollars going to pay it. So why do you basically get penalized living in the city limits?
I can't answer that. I live in a small town, I pay county taxes, the county I live in, we pay 911 there also.
So let me ask you a couple of questions. Looks like total budget for the 911 office is almost $500,000. It's $487,000 and change.
I think it's more than that, but anyway.
Salaries and compensation is $348, insurance is $82.
Okay, you
And
see
the
the total
retirement
budget,
is 56.
that's just salary, that's not our operating budget. Operating budget's like $600,000 or $800,000.
Okay, so this is what's on this document. So roughly $500,000 in salaries, insurance, and retirement for the 911 board. Is that, am I seeing that accurately?
I don't know which documents you're looking at. I have a copy of the bill they sent y'all, if that's what you're talking
But
about.
what I'm saying is that bill's about $5,000. So it's roughly 1% of,
0.9.
yeah, 0.96% of salaries, insurance, retirement. Part of that total is $487,000.
Yes.
So, is that based on the 300 people that live in the city limits of Hornsby?
What you're paying?
Uh-huh.
Yes.
So you're calculating our $5,000 bill on the city limit residents of
Whatever the
Hornsby.
census says, how many the census says live in Hornsby.
So if we have,
Can I sit down since everybody else sit down?
and I'm just guessing that we have about 300.
And I wish you that number. I
Yeah,
don't know.
but that's about right, isn't it? Because we have about 300 registered voters in the city. So that's about $17 each annually added to their taxes. is that what other municipalities are incurring? Is it about that amount? Have you drilled down that far?
Everybody's the same, per person is the same amount. So you're saying it comes out to $17.
Roughly.
So if that's what it is per person, you're at about like $300 times 17. Oliver would be like 5,000 times 17. After you get that per person rate, then we do it by population. Where you get that per person rate, you take the whole population of the county, and then you divide it by multiply it to get that by person rate. So that'd be like, we take away, like there's 25,000 people in the county, we take away 300, 5,000 from Oliver.
Okay, so you're taking the city municipality population away from the county,
to get their
25,000.
And plus on the census, it tells you how many people live in that county.
It's not 300 registered voters, it's 300 people, that's all.
People.
From infant to
Yeah,
the others, yeah.
300 people. Okay.
And there was no blue tribe by calls for service, and there's no way to do it, because we might have a red, and you have Oliver, we'll say if it's in Whiteville, you have Oliver Fire, Whiteville, District 15 in the county, 4 or 5 minutes, and register squad show up. You can't do it, the only way we can do it was by population, and that's how the state does what they do about it.
And is that the way other counties do their 911
You
billing?
know, that I can answer.
That's what you check into, wasn't it? Because the phone bill.
I want to know how much money they're getting from this cell phone company, because every single person who has a cell phone now
It's an idea.
pays for defraying this cost. And
But we don't get all that.
I understand,
It
but
goes to-
do you know how much you do get?
I can tell you because the state determines what we get. Now, I'm sure Kerry can pull it up, or I can go to the state website and pull it up. But they have to do a report yearly what everybody gets. So I can tell you, I don't look at it every day.
Do y'all give the 911 employees a raise every year?
We give them 3% and we give them up to 5%.
But you're
I
doing it
can't
every
say,
year.
I can't say, because we both.
The reason I ask that is because county employees just now did not get a raise.
Yes.
There's no raises and I couldn't give my deputy a raise for nothing else. So you see where my concern comes from, that if they're getting a raise every year and the county can't give raises, and we're all paying for this, it kind of puts a bad taste in your mouth. I realize what you're doing, and I understand that, but it seems like everybody's gonna have to give, and that includes the 911 too. I'm sorry, but no, I just.
I just want to ask a question. So are you guys a governing body of yourself? And there's no one that you are
Well,
accountable
we have
to?
a board, just like the utility
But
board.
within yourself, there's no one who you are accountable to. You guys, as far as making a decision to, example, do a raise, you guys get to decide that, and there's no one who has any type of.
Right, we're just like the utility board and everybody else, we're a board. And that we're appointed by the mayor to serve the term, just like our Bolivar Utility and other boards, they are a utility board that's assigned and they make the decisions on the stuff.
If the city don't have money to give raises, then they don't get a raise. Ain't nothing left at the end of the year for them, there's nothing left. I'm a retired fireman, so I can assure you, when it comes to your life and your safety, your police, if you run off in a ditch on the side of the road during the middle of the night, you're gonna want somebody there.
Yeah, but people want a roof over their head and food in their stomach too.
So
I
let
don't
me ask
think
you
that we're
one more question.
challenging that. It's just having an understanding about how they manage. That's all. Yeah, because I mean, I did.
When we pay a bill, the bill that we have, that's one time a year.
Yeah, she can pay it quarterly or yearly.
Okay, so how far in advance will we know what next year's bill will be?
That's like, we passed our budget, so that should have already been out. And I think somebody got emailed.
Is it on a calendar year? Is our payment on a
Oh,
calendar?
we try to get ours done before most cities pass their budget.
So you do it before, okay, so for our budgets, like we're supposed to be turned in by the end of June.
Yeah, that's like for 2 or 3 years, we didn't bill anybody because we did not get our budget done on time. We ate that, and the state was writing us up for it, but we didn't get ours done. It wasn't fair to have you try to do amendments for your budget. So we try, if we don't get it in for the budget, our budget committees, we take.
Yeah, because they couldn't get their budget.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I mean, I
I mean,
understand.
don't get me wrong, Officer Johnson, I'm not against
No,
anybody getting
I know
raises or
what-
anything. It's
I know
just
what
that when
you
you're a
mean.
small community.
I know what you're already dealing with the other stuff you're trying to get done, so I understand.
Well, but I'm just saying anybody, I mean, I want everybody to be able to
Yeah,
make a decent living in the county. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying is that, you know, if they're getting something every year where other employees aren't, they have to understand that we're still having to pay the tax dollars that's going for their salaries and stuff.
but see,
So it just makes it hard. And don't get me wrong, I would not do y'all's job.
no,
would not.
but like, last year, year before, county got a raise, went up above us, we didn't get a raise.
Okay.
So, just like you said, it just depends on
Yeah.
if we have any surplus there, if we sold anything. Year before last, $200,000 to replace our dispatch center, that's lightning struck. Heck, I think insurance covered $150,000, so it depends on how things are going.
Yeah.
All right, last question.
I'll take questions all day. I see you down
For
there.
me, I don't live in the city.
Okay.
I live here, but outside the city limits.
I'm
You pay city
you're in Hornsby district, but you don't live in.
We pay city.
Yeah, part of your part.
Okay, so if I lived outside the city limits and didn't have any property in the city, would the county tax us for the appropriate amount of 911 costs?
They're paying us, I don't know where they're getting their funds from. See, we build the county just like y'all. They pay
Okay, and
us.
so the county would adjust their taxes accordingly, probably?
I don't know how they're doing theirs, I'm just being honest. I just know they pay us.
For all the people who don't live in the municipality?
Right, because they get billed for, like I said, on your census, it tells you how many lives in the county, who lives in the city, and that's what we go by, like, I was using 300 people, that's what we go by when we multiply to get per person rate for the budget.
I get it. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Roughly how many employees does 911 have on staff?
We have 12, we're supposed to have 16, we have 12. Ever since we first started, we had a budget set for 16, and we have not been up to 16 employees, and we usually run overtime to cover shifts. And that's another kicker is overtime.
So is every small town paying this, or is Grand Junction and Tune still a holdout?
Everybody gets paid. Now, this time, I don't know yet, we ain't got that far.
So what happens if we can't pay?
It's just like your electric bill. You can't pay, I can't, we'll have to set up with y'all, who y'all want y'all to start us forward to.
I guess we really matter out here, don't we?
Well, I mean, we went 5 years ago and asked people to make a donation. We didn't hear from nobody, and the state told us we can't use our funding for. And it's weird, you have what they call 911 communication operators, which take the call. And then you have what they call 911 dispatchers. We can't use salary for 911 dispatchers, that came from the state of Tennessee. That's what we get brought up for in our audit, so we put it off as long as we could.
So what is the average salary of a 911 dispatcher?
Oh, Lord, I didn't bring that with me. Oh, gosh. That I can't answer, because I'll be, because you have a tier, it depends on how long they've been there, and I have no idea. I know we were starting off at $15 an hour last year. And all city employees are $15 an hour, and everybody around there is $15 an hour.
So the bill that you've got on the list, is that for the 24-25 cycle? Is that?
It says from
Yeah.
mine says from 7/1 to 6/30, 7/1 of 2024 to 6/30, so it's for the whole year.
And you're saying they can pay it quarterly?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am.
I don't see any other alternative. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for answering all my questions.
I have, I said, I'm sitting there, and I'll talk to you all day.
Yes, but it would be nice to see where the revenue for the 911 for Hornsby County comes into. I mean, but I know Carrie very well. I can.
Yeah, I mean, it's no, we get it, and our paperwork shows it, that I couldn't, that's even on our budget, but they write us so much at a certain time.
And I know it's very restricted, like I said, because I had a,
Well, I
For
didn't,
years.
I didn't know
For years.
you got a call from you and he's the state attorney.
Do you have any entities that haven't paid and you've cut off?
No, sir, everybody's paid.
Everybody's paid. You tell me again what you would do if it didn't?
If you don't pay, I can't dispatch for you.
Okay, so.
I'll give
If you didn't pay, then we call 911, we wouldn't get it back.
No, I will ask you, like, if you see what you're gonna pay or you didn't pay, I will call whoever's in charge. Or, no, I would Carrie do that, we refer to that. Miss Carrie would call you and say, who do you want your calls routed to? And then it'd have to go to a cell phone number. So if you're gonna be the person, 24 hours a day, you'll
Are
get
you
a
saying
call.
I'd get a response or somebody come or not?
That would be up to whoever's in Hornsby that answers the phone.
Well, I couldn't go through your dispatch.
Yeah, we'll transfer the call to whoever's in Hornsby representative.
We'd have to establish that.
Yeah, y'all would have to establish that.
And Chief, we would also need to have a functional volunteer fire department too, wouldn't we? For them to be able to communicate.
With, what you mean?
Okay, so we have a volunteer fire department.
Okay.
Okay, so if we don't pay the 911 bill, any communication between the
Yeah, y'all would
county,
have to do that. Y'all have to patch them out there.
that would cease, correct? With them too?
Which one then too?
With the fire department as well, communication would cease with them?
Yes.
Thank you. Probably one.
maybe so.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay. Do we have any other questions?
Thank you, Mr. Jones.
Yes, thank you.
That's it, I'm here all day, I'm fine. Here to y'all. Ouch.
I'm gonna make a motion that we table this until next month when the mayor's back and we can do a little more checking. Because Ben's still, that stuff he's working on.
I may be able to get that information in regards to how much money, because multiple people told me there's more transparency in other counties as to what that money, one, how much it is, and two, where it's going.
Yeah.
So I think that you guys would probably be very interested to know that.
Yeah, if you want to, all you have to do is go down there and look out the budget.
I was gonna do that today until I heard she had COVID, and then I decided I would go another day.
We were there all day today. She
Okay.
had COVID last week, she came back to work today.
I just happened to run into Mary Holtz, and he was trying to talk to her as well. So thank you for coming down and talking to us.
No problem.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to table it
Next month.
till then we can get us some more information.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Next thing on the agenda is the police department.
There were some concerns that were raised as far as call volumes inside the city of Hornsby. So I went and pulled from dispatch last year's worth of call volume. And sorted through that. I understand that I'm part-time here. I have a full-time job, but I'll realize that. I can only be here during certain hours of the day. There were 68 calls that were issued out last year in the city of Hornsby. Those 68 calls also included EMS, which is covered by EMS. It also covers the warrants that were issued by the county, animal complaints which are issued and handled by the county, as well as walkthrough and patrol of the school. The school zone is the county's responsibility. They have an SRO who's assigned to that. It's a county school system. So bringing that number back down, that listed about 36 calls that I, as the chief, would be responsible for. During that time, 21 of those calls were when I'm at my full-time job. Of those, only about 11 were left over. I responded to at least 4 of those, if not more, that I could account for quickly going through this listing. It's also brought to my attention that I'm not being notified of certain calls. Some citizens in the county and city area jurisdiction that I have are making phone calls directly to a county deputy who's responding to that call and never being notified. I cannot answer calls if I don't know what the call is, if I'm not being told about it.
Who's not informed?
Who's what? Either dispatcher or the deputy himself is just going and handling the call. It's going to show the self-service call. Again, it happens even in Baldwin. Somebody knows somebody, a chief may say, hey, go handle this call over here, and it's not directly linked into dispatch. So in that case, then that officer is going to check on the scene and say, hey, I'm checking out this such and such call. The deputies will notify me. I've notified them at least twice that that's happened in the last month or so. I also understand that law enforcement is not a revenue building industry. It doesn't matter, I can tell you that I'm going to bring in $37,000 to this city. At the end of the day, I cannot speak for the judge. The judge has the power to dismiss every citation outright if she so chooses to. And that will put zero money from the law enforcement side of it. A retired firefighter here said, if at 2 o'clock in the morning your house is broken into, you wreck your car in the ditch over here, you're going to want somebody to come.
Well, also, the city, I don't know how it is with the county, but retirees hadn't had a raise in 20 years for the city of Memphis.
From the city of what?
City of Memphis.
Oh.
So my answer to that was a proposal to hire a second officer here with me taking a pay cut on that. In doing so, it actually added officers to the road during the daytime hours that I'm in my full-time job. That provides y'all with more individuals here, and at the end of the day, the budget for a salary only went up $2,000. Gives y'all more coverage on the road, if that's what you're looking for. But again, that's y'all's decision as a board as to what y'all want to need. There's traditionally been a minimum of 2 officers here in Hornsby.
Now, I think it was 2 officers at one time, and they would bleed the city dry. And so
We're not-
they had to remove them because I've been here in the city limits, Chris, for 44 years. And I can tell you lots of history. I can also tell you though, and like I said, this is nothing against anyone. Once again, this town cannot afford 2 officers. And the county law is set down here every other day. Anyway, they're patrolling. I mean, so if the call goes through and it's something here in Hornsby, they're readily here to answer the call.
Maybe. How many do they have on at any given point?
Well, I can tell you right now, since there has been so much concern with the town, they're willing to patrol it more.
Well, I've had some conversations with the brass, and generally speaking, the answer to that in the entire county is 2 people over 2 deputies.
For 640 square miles.
They're not gonna be able to prioritize us over anybody else. But services wouldn't be available, regardless of what direction y'all decide to go.
Well, as I said the other day, now there's a lot of people, this town is mainly a lot of elderly people, more or less. And I don't call it nosiness, but my neighbors look out for my house, I look out for their houses. I'm kin to everybody down here, well, I put it this way, my husband's kin to everybody down here. And who he's not kin to, I got a small quote of the other ones. And it's just that, I think that when they went with the police department, the only thing they were looking for was some patrolling. I mean, we have kids that are walking the streets at 11 o'clock at night, that parents aren't aware of it, and people like us are calling the parents saying, the kid's on the street. It's not like, I mean, like I said, I've been here 44 years, and one incident's happened even before I got married. We've had 2 major incidents in this town. But now Freddie Hodge, God rest his soul, He did it for years and years and years and years and years. When we had a bank, when we had stores, when we had businesses. My concern is my tax dollars constantly just going out for something. I mean, and like I said, once again, I realize you got a full-time job, Chris. And whoever else probably would come on would probably have a full-time job too. So therefore, how's anybody in control? And everybody, you're a young man, you got a young family, don't get me wrong, everybody deserves to have their fun, do whatever. But it's just, there's no presence of an officer here. I mean, it's really not.
So
And if
your
I'm
answer
wrong,
is
please prove me wrong.
So if your answer is that if the car doesn't move, then there's no presence of an officer in the city, is that your opinion?
Well, part of having an officer was to patrol the streets.
I agree. But the other part is the hours that I get to woke up at 2 and 3 in the morning with a phone call that says, hey, this is going on. The theft that we had this week of over $5,000 in the city.
Hey, what?
We had a theft in the city this week, 2 days ago, of over $5,000 in the city. Y'all are not getting woke up at 2 o'clock in the morning for those. When a tornado comes through this town again, y'all are not the ones who are gonna come out there and cut the trees down. And
We're not. Oh, yes, we are. That's where you're wrong.
I have a handful that did the last one came through town.
What's that?
I had a handful that did the last time we had them come through, right? But we have the county, you're relying on your deputies again to come assist y'all. If those deputies are tied up in the southern end of the county of that tornado, who's coming to help you? Who's providing your first aid? Who's providing all of that information and that to get back to the people that come at that point?
Well, you can't do it all.
Is there any other way to raise money? Can we do anything else?
You want the, you see taxpayers once again get their taxes raised even more. We pay county tax, we pay city
No, I'm
tax.
not talking about like that. I'm talking about ag.
Go ahead.
Can we, is it somehow, that we have like equipment to use to like when people have jobs? I'm paying, right now, if it's pay somebody $15,000 to build a deck on my trailer. I need somebody with a backhoe, with a trackhoe, and all this other stuff. If the city had stuff like that, I'd pay the city to come over and do it.
The city can't do it, buddy.
That's come on, you can't do it. Illegal. That's illegal.
There are grants and stuff out there, and I don't know, I know everybody says, ooh, grants, you have to pay matching. There's a lot of grants we use in law enforcement, we don't have to match. There's a $5,000 highway safety grant that pays for overtime and time for officers. We just finished up a $200,000 grant to buy our equipment. So that's another reason we're able to do, let's have less tax dollars involved with applying for these grants. So I don't know about everything else, there's a lot of HDA grants and all that you have to match. Our grants you don't have to match in law enforcement. So the reason I was saying that is there's a lot of stuff that he can get that basically funds himself.
Well, the sad part about it is this has been over a year, and have we gotten any grants? In
No.
over a year.
The reason was.
And what we've been out of is a car, a radio, a radar detector, and like I said, once again, it's sitting here and it's not moving, patrolling the streets. I mean, I don't,
The reason why there was no grants was that the month that the grants were available, and I asked that, the board's opinion at that moment was to defund law enforcement and release the police department altogether. So at that point, there was no reason for me to pursue the grant option. Now those grants are closed, I could have gotten in March. So now it'll be next March before any of those grants are over.
But our
I had
county's
two of
under
them that I had.
investigation.
That had
We're
two
not
of
gonna
them.
give up anything right now.
No, we're not eligible for grants.
Huh? What's your name?
We're not eligible.
What's your name?
because of all the other issues with the city, where the comptroller.
Yeah, the grants we apply for has nothing to do with the water and street sanitation.
The whole town voted.
This is government highway safety money, they have to spend.
But Chief, here's the problem. We're gonna, when our next audit is done, we're gonna be in trouble with the police department too. Because we bought a vehicle out there that required 3 bids, there were 0 bids. or no bids were brought before the board members didn't even know what kind of vehicle was coming or where it was coming from to begin with.
What do you mean bids?
Do what?
What do you mean bids? You don't have to bid everything.
According to our purchasing policy, you do.
You don't purchase a policy, okay.
So, I mean, it was violation of our purchasing policy. There's been equipment brought without board approval. So, you know, we've already got issues we've got to address when our next audit is done.
Well, see, that's one thing about grants, we have to send how we're spending that money into the state, so the state's approving it or spending, so you don't have an audit problem.
I understand. There has been a lot of discussion for several months about the police department and the unhappiness with tax dollars. Like I said, our city taxes, last year we took in $14,307 in property taxes, and we spent $24,585 on the police department. So, I mean, this year's proposal that we had on the budget is more than we're gonna take in on property taxes. We just cannot do it. You know, we got 911 wanting a piece of the pie. We've got utilities. I mean, we cannot function as a town with what's proposed in this budget.
What's the same question I asked you earlier, what was your sales tax revenue?
It's like 30,000.
I think it was 30,000.
Is that including the shipping tax?
I mean, I'm telling you, when I say if we take in $50,000 a year,
That's good.
that's a good year. We do not have the funds. We just, there's no industry, there's no stores except for the dollar store. There's just nothing here. We just cannot afford it.
What they say, you can't get blood out of the time.
And we've been squeezing it pretty hard. But, I mean, there was a lot of discussion at the budget planning meeting. I talked to the former county attorney this afternoon, and I'm gonna make a motion, we just totally dissolve the police department. We just do not have the funds for it.
Can I chime in and advise everybody here what I've been doing? Is that possible? Okay, so the reason why I did not have a contract, the reason why I did not have a police policy today is because I was told not to have one, because that was going to be the decision of the board, was more than likely to do away with the police department entirely. So I had some concerns because we have a mutual aid agreement that was signed by John Doolin, signed by the chief here, who I didn't get to talk with him, but I mean, he's here. I've talked with the sheriff's office about a number of concerns, which would include if we don't have a police department, we need to have somebody who can be a volunteer, but we gotta have somebody on their call list essentially, which we can deal with. The sheriff's office is not concerned. They essentially would find it null and void. There wouldn't be any issues. They would come after us in any way, shape, or form. Another concern that I have though is if completely dissolving the police department would essentially make it difficult to restart, but I also think that we are obligated to inform the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation, as well as the posts, peace officers, safety and training, or whatever that stands for. I think that we have to notify them if we're going to completely shut it down. So if we have the ability to help fund law enforcement with potential future, money that would be available at no cost to the taxpayers, and we have some way that we want to potentially in the near future, whether it be Chief Wilkerson or somebody else, actually make a contract to incorporate it into the budget, we can do that. But my advice to you, because of what I said for what we need to notify Nashville, if we're going to completely dissolve it, I think we should probably look into just not funding it in the near term without actually dissolving it. That said, if that's what y'all decide you want to do, I would like, I said to one of you, I'll ask for forgiveness rather than permission from Nashville. So, I mean, I serve at your pleasure as well. So, I mean, let me know. I do have concerns if we were to just completely axe everything. I think that maybe in the near future we might be able to fund it so that Mr. Wilkerson has an enforceable contract, you guys know what you're gonna be getting out of it, have it logged like he's already agreed to, when he and I had discussions. But that said, I'll leave it to y'all's decision.
So what you're saying is that if we decide to dissolve the police department, we have to notify now, is that right?
Yes, sir.
Any specific person that you notify? FBI or TBI?
I believe that they require some notice. I was just told less than a week ago. I was in Mississippi when I was told, don't worry about the police policy, don't worry about the contract. So I got back and I prioritized these issues and we started looking into them. And I believe, I can't say with 100% certainty, but I believe that we're under obligation to notify 2 entities with the state of Tennessee of our intention to dissolve. So to that end, if you decide that you wanted to save the funding entirely with the police department, and Grand Junction and some other places have still maintained their police department, they just haven't paid anybody. So if you decide you want to suspend paying Chief Wilkerson, we might be able to bring him or anybody else that y'all decide that you want to employ, but I would advise you against just axing the department entirely at this point.
So you're saying vote the budget out and find out what else would have to be done, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Well, I talked to Chia, and he said that, you know, if we have a login with the TBI, Friends, CIC, et cetera, we have to notify them of that Hornsby will not have an authorized login. But he said there was no reason we could not dissolve the police department.
As I
And
said,
I mean, Pace, my former boss, county attorney, local city attorney, I just called him. I mean,
and the man is experienced as sharp as a samurai sword, but I mean, that's kind of what I'm saying too, is we need to notify them. So, I mean, if you guys want to go ahead and axe the entire department today, I'll deal with it. Good, I know it.
You're speaking of contract. If anybody can answer the question, has this city ever had a contract with a police officer?
no,
I didn't think so. There's no need for no contracts. They've always been hired.
Well,
Never been one.
Okay, well, what they have with Mr. Wilkerson, with the previous mayor, isn't a contract either, but Ms. Headwall evidently wrote out 30 hours, $10 an hour, and then Mr. Wilkerson signed it, which is not a contract, but that's the functioning agreement.
But can I tell you also, she probably didn't take it before the council to vote on it, so.
no.
I don't know that,
And I'm not throwing stones, I just know that
I'm not
I have that's all I have is that document.
Tom?
Like I said, you're giving away at $10 an hour for law enforcement.
Talking about the police board, I had an opportunity to review our charter. And found in subsection 16, where it talks about city court, city judge, the very bottom of that section, it says our mayor shall have the power to increase the police force and appoint special deputies. Now that's a complete section. Not a power by ordinance in this case, just a section that says that. If that's what.
Yes, sir, and I think that you guys also have the discretion to disband it entirely. I don't think that's any illegal issue at all. I think we just do need to give notice to Nashville. So I think it would just make more sense to be able, if we decided that we wanted to, in the future, be it with grant money or taxpayer money or both, if we were to ever want to have a policeman employed by the city, it would make more sense to just not fund it at the moment.
Can I ask Officer Jones this? Officer Jones, if there are grants out there, and say there was no police department, could the council approach Nashville and ask them about grants?
No, you gotta have a police department,
Okay.
the grants I'm talking about.
Okay.
Y'all can get grants for sanitation for a tractor or build a new city hall, but the ones that I know about would be law enforcement. If I go into anything else, I would be talking secondhand. Does that make sense? Or y'all can get something to fire, because y'all still have fire.
See, I don't understand what the difference, I mean, fire's an emergency thing too. If they could do fire, why could they not do police?
The highway safety office grants are used for high visibility enforcement, whether or not that's DUIs, child restraint violations.
Like mad chicks and money on that, mad for drunk driving out for, so that's where.
It has to be used for specifically for enforcement equipment.
And that comes from the federal government.
But that money goes, but that money going to the funding here, I mean, that's why I'm saying, why would they not have any kind of say-so
I
fines?
know what you're asking, why would they give it to the city? grants from fire department. We even got a grant for
It
the
doesn't work.
sewer department to redo our sewer, what's called a treatment plant. So it's the ones I know about, the ones for law enforcement, which are not matched.
My question, would there be a reason why we have to disband the police department today? Is it something that we can't wait till
Well,
the next month?
The budget's gotta be put.
The budget's gotta be,
By the end of this month, or?
no, we can't wait till next month, because we won't have it for the budget by the comptroller's office. So,
Well, I can say for one, I am strictly against the budget that Chris turned. My tax dollars, he's already a public servant, trained public servant. Why should we pay for training?
Trying to
We
be
don't have that kind of money.
The laws change.
We don't have that kind of money.
I understand that, but your
And you ought to understand that.
very, your current and policies state that the city of Hornsby will hire and maintain a trained law enforcement officer.
You are trained.
And those laws change, and training is always ongoing.
Does the Bible not train you on these things?
Not at the level of chief, they don't.
Well, that's another thing.
Every year we have to hold up a law.
They don't need to be paid.
I'm speaking from experience, and I'm new out here, so please don't get mad at me. But again, I'm a 25-year retired, but every year you have to get your recertification. You got to do continuing education courses every year. I had to get recertified for CPR. I had to take continuing education classes for officer training. Every year we had to go through so many, we had to go to the fire academy like 12 times a year and do different evaluations and go through situations where it might be a shooter in the school.
Yes, sir, we understand that, but he's titling it with chief, where he's already a city of Bolivar police officer and he's getting all kinds of training. I think that's the point that Mr. Spencer is trying to make. If he just remains a police officer, there's no need for all the chief training because he's receiving police training under the city of Bolivar, which we're thankful for that. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if it's all about giving titles, okay, I see there may be a few other stipulations, but he's already a full-time city of Bolivar police officer. So the additional training is simply going for a title for money we don't have. I mean, if you look at what they've had to deal with, and I come to all these, I try to come to all these meetings, because in listening to what they're having to put out, it's just like, I get about the 911 bill, I understand that. I think it's a little high, especially when we don't know where all the revenue comes from. And I'm not saying people shouldn't get raises, they should get raises. You know, I pray that they are able to get raises. But my point is if we had several big businesses or something down here like we did several years ago, I can tell you, like I've been around a long time. Years ago, you had a big oil plant up here. And then you had something right, I mean, we had those things. So those tax dollars were coming in here to help this city. The problem is right now, all we got is DG. Now, I don't know exactly, I mean, we do have a couple of businesses, but I don't know exactly how their money is going or what it's going for or what they're making or anything like that, which they've only been in business probably about a year, so probably another year we would have a better understanding of what those two other businesses might bring in here.
I'm 90% sure your whole sales tax comes in there, it's all right.
It's all what?
Agriculture.
So see, okay, that's probably right. One of the businesses in agriculture, so there's probably not the first tax dollar. So see, I mean, it's not that I don't think anybody's totally against it, it's just that we don't have it, and then when the budget gets hiked up, and like I said, he wanted a car, they got a car. The radar, whatever. The other guy that used to be here, and I don't have anything against it. I've known Chris since he's moved here, and his mother-in-law since I was a kid, was one of my closest friends. The fact of the matter is that the other guy came down here, he sat around the school, which I know we have a school resource officer now, but he would drive around the streets, he'd be up there, and I don't think anybody's seen this. I mean, at Christmas time, I had stuff stolen off my front porch. And it was only because of some cameras and reasoning, I was able to figure out who it was. And my concern was not for the stuff or getting it back. My concern was that the kids were 13 years old and they were on the streets at 11 o'clock at night. So, you know, I got a brother-in-law who rides the streets all the time. I just say, I'll give him, say, Greg, I'll give you $50 this month. About 11, 12 at night, will you please circle the block a few times? My point is that I think people would have felt better because, and Chris wanted the job, just like when I got my job, you go into it gung-ho, you want to prove to everyone that you want to do the best you can do. But there's been no visibility. And I'm not saying, and I get you get your 2 o'clock calls and stuff like that, I understand that. But I do know that there have been a lot of county enforcers down here. They're patrolling, they're riding through. So if a call was to go through, they're right here in town. I mean, there was 2 sitting here Sunday or Monday. I mean, sitting out here. And I know they may just be conversing, but it's something that happened. Somebody did down here. It's just that we can't afford that kind of budget. And I really don't know, with all the issues we've had with water problems, and now the fire, whoever is the fire guy is, he's come in saying there's so much that's not done. Thankfully, $25,000 has been given to it. They can go for some of it, but I don't know. It's their decision. I listen to them, and I have concerns, but I do have concerns. We have no income. Well, I mean, we just don't have it down here. It's to keep up and up and up. So do we try to get the fire department in better shape? Do we let them do that? Or do we try to find funding for the police department? I don't know. I mean, they have to find it, but I feel for them.
Motion on the floor.
Yes,
sir.
I have a motion on. Okay, let's do a roll call vote.
And what's the motion?
Say that again.
Budget. She's all the police department. Do it, police department.
Motion.
We're gonna do a roll, we got a second, roll call vote. Mr. Vance?
I say, no.
Abstain.
Yes.
Yes. Yes.
Melissa, if you'll get me a letter tonight, signed by somebody saying that they'll abolish that, I'll contact folks first thing tomorrow morning and let them know it's been abolished.
Okay. Mr. Ben, do you have anything else? Do you have anything else? I know you talked kind of more throughout the.
Well, the two big issues, already put out.
Okay, we have an Aeneas quote to get the, fiber internet, since we are very slow. We are paying $300 a month now, and this is going to go to, I gotta find it, sorry. $159.75. Our startup to get our cybersecurity and our switches will be $905.90. And that'll be a line in the city office, and it'll be in the water department. And then it'll have our switches and our static IP and all that.
That's required, something like that, required.
Yes. Yes, because,
I mean,
Mr. Ayers did a cybersecurity policy, and that was some of the stuff that we had to have in there. So I just need to know if this is something that we want to change to.
You need a motion to do this? I'll make a motion.
Okay? I have a second.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Our 2023-24 audit contract has been signed, and we're gonna go with the same people, Goodman and Associates. And next on the agenda is gonna be the first reading of the 2024-2025 fiscal budget. $2,500, Ms. Joe?
Yes, it's gonna go, for the water department superintendent, it's gonna go from $2,500 to $5,000 because of all this expensive pipes and stuff that he has to buy. And all the other departments spending will be $1,000. And anything over $1,000, it has to have the water permit.
Okay, over 5, go to the road, under
Yes,
5,
sir.
no. If everything else under 1,000, okay, over 1,000, no more.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So I get a motion for the amendment,
Make a motion.
and a second.
Second,
All in favor? Ms. Pat, what you got for the water department?
We did get our utility annual information report in. And, I told you 40% is the total water loss that they will find acceptable. When Pam and I worked on it in this heat last week, our water loss was 56%. But you gotta remember that's when the tank and pumping station were not communicating. There was leaks sitting forever not being fixed. So Pam kept looking at the numbers and she looked at all the bills from Summer Utility and there were some numbers that didn't quite make sense. So I called them. They finally got back to Pam with some updated information, so we did get our water loss down to 44.33%, which is still above 40. But it's a whole lot easier to beg for mercy at 44% than 56%. So that is in. The only thing that I'm just really annoyed and upset about is Nate Fontenot contacted me this afternoon. William was here, Curtis, Jim Knuckles was out here, I was here, and Randy McKinnon, and we discussed the feasibility study. And he knew it was due the 30th, we were supposed to get it in. Of course, the 30th was Sunday, so Nate contacted me this afternoon. Randy has not got the feasibility study to him, so I've been calling him, leaving messages, but I haven't heard back from him. Rest assured, he'll hear from me first thing in the morning, because I am pretty mad about that, because it was very important, and we discussed that in that meeting, that it be in on time. And he said he understood, and I'm just real disappointed that it's for $10,000 on the study he did not deliver. But other than that, I guess things are going along pretty well, but I do want to say on this 40% that the state will allow, to me, that's a really high number. But they find 40% acceptable. I will tell you this, that William does not come anywhere close to having a 40% water loss. I think the last one that we had with William was less than 20%, and that may sound like a lot, but if the state allows 40%, I think William's done a really good job keeping it that low. So he works very hard to try and keep things going. That's it.
Street department?
Nothing to report, other than, I need somebody to do an ordinance style policy. I've got what I want in the policy, but I need somebody to either put it in an ordinance form, and then we can look at it and vote on it.
We can do that. Okay, fire department, Dustin is not here tonight. He sent over a quote for engine 3, and it is $22,744.75, which he needs board approval for.
Let's go with that one more time.
He has a quote for engine 3 for repairs.
Repair?
Yes, sir.
How many quotes do we have? One?
He just has one.
Does it require more than one?
For our purchase.
Purchasing policy says we shall require 3. That's 2 bids.
Okay.
So he needs to get 2 more bids.
Okay. 2 more quotes.
Yeah, 2 more quotes.
Okay. All right. Okay. Public discussion?
What about the pumps? The 2 pumps that.
I tried to catch William this afternoon. He'd been out working all day. I know that they were supposed to have come in last week and he was going to get them put in, but he hasn't told me that he actually did. But he's not complaining. Everybody's got pressure, so I'm assuming everything's working okay.
Mr. Hill, we talked about the condition that the recycling center's in out there.
Yeah.
I contacted the Mayor Paulson again this afternoon,
Uh-huh.
and he said it would turn over to the highway department.
Oh.
I just wanted to inform you.
That's up there, then.
I just informed you what I told you.
Okay. Thank you.
I got another question. What are we gonna do about the air conditioner in this building?
About what?
The air conditioner.
I don't know, but I'm telling you, we worked in here last week and it was 89 degrees. It's absolutely ridiculous and unbearable.
I don't see how it can work there.
I mean, there's no air in these offices moving at all, and you do a fan and it's just blowing hot air.
I wish you tried to figure out something before August 5th. I wouldn't have nobody working in here.
Well, you know, Curtis knows, we went through this all last summer, it was absolutely miserable in here. I think it's worse this year than it was last year.
Has he expressed any interest in fixing it himself?
No, sir.
You can't
He
fix
changed
it
his
yourself. You can't fix it yourself. Conflict of interest.
Call somebody else?
Conflict of interest for him.
Is anybody in here gonna oppose to him having a conflict of interest to be fixed?
He just needs to do it for free, and won't be no cost.
There you go.
He did change out the thermostat, like I said, it was better for a couple of days, but
It's just
here
not.
we are. Today's been the first day I've been here that it's been bad.
I make a motion to get 3 estimates on, from 3 different companies for replacing the unit.
You gonna do that?
I'll repair it.
You gonna do it? Get the quotes, you're gonna get the estimates?
I can get
Okay.
For repair or for a new unit?
replacement.
Probably a new unit, that's probably been there. Repair first, you gotta talk about the budget.
Yeah.
Or to replace.
We need to repair, yeah.
The school repair this year, then talk about next year with the new unit.
Amber, who did you have work on it last year to get it going for election? Henderson?
Yeah. Bobby came out here.
And typically, if we can turn it off and let it sit overnight or for a day or two, you can turn it back on and it's over.
We contacted several, but Bobby was the only one on emergency cases. Getting the calls.
All right, we got a motion to get 3 quotes for repairs. I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Uh,
Have any other public discussion? Okay, our
Your
next,
siren system, your first alert system behind the building is in need of repairs. So it's gonna fall on today. It's stuck in one position, so
okay,
it's only facing 64, so the citizens behind here are not hearing anything goes off.
okay. Okay, our next board meeting will be August the 6th. Do I have a motion to, oh, I'm so sorry. We will have a public hearing and the second reading of the budget on July the 23rd at 6 p.m.
And remember, nobody can be in this building on August 5th except the poll officials.
Okay.
Or people voting, that's it.
Okay. Okay, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion.
I have a second.
That's Hunter's birthday.